You're listening to TechCast, a multiple award-winning, non-for-profit, student-led podcast recorded directly from Matt's class on the corner of René Lévesque and Saint-Mathieu in downtown Montreal. Welcome to the 4th episode of the TechCast in Season 4. We are glad that you are joining us for this exciting episode. Hello, TechCast world. My name is Alessia, and I am your host for this episode. As always, it is great to be back in the studio with the TechCast crew. Joining me today as my co-host is Carly Hay. In the first segment, we are hosting the TechCast Quiz. The TechCast Quiz is a highly entertaining event that sees two players to compete against each other. The topic of this quiz is going to be countries of the world. We have invited two tech staff members to face off in this quiz. In the second segment, we will be interviewing Tech's very own chef, Willow.
Dinner is served.
We are going to have detailed discussion with Willow and find out what her life is like as a chef. So let's get episode 4 started. Make yourself a snack. Maybe it could be some nachos. Maybe it could be some grilled cheese. And whatever it is, we hope you enjoy this fantastic episode.
Thanks, Alessia. I'm thrilled to be co-hosting with you again in Season 4. I must say, Alessia, I'm looking forward to hosting the TechCast quiz for the first time in my podcasting career. So I am now going to explain how this quiz works. The two players will come into the studio and answer 10 questions related to countries of the world. They will be given a score out of 10, and the winner will be crowned TechCast Quiz Champion. We still have not decided what the winning prize will be. Hopefully we get something donated from one of our sponsors.
It's a game show.
I will now bring the players into the studio. Hi Ryan and Kim. Welcome to the first TechCast quiz of Season 4. How do you feel about being the players on this very popular quiz?
I'm a little nervous. I'm pretty excited.
I'll say the same, nervous and excited.
You're going down though, Kim.
The topic of the quiz is countries of the world. The players need to use their buzzers to answer. The first person to buzz will get to answer. If they get it wrong, we move on to the next question. Players will say their names when they want to buzz. Players, can you please practice your buzzers?
Kim.
Ryan.
Okay, I am now going to ask the 10 questions. Question number 1. But what country has the longest coastline in the world? A for Australia, B for South Africa, or C for Canada?
Ryan.
Yes.
Go for C for Canada.
Correct. Question 2. By size, what is the smallest country in the world? A, Vatican City, B, Malta, or C for Singapore?
Kim. A, Vatican City.
Correct.
Nice one.
Question 3. What country is Beirut the capital of? A, Jordan, B, Lebanon, or C for Iran?
Ryan. B for Lebanon.
Correct. Question 4. In which country would you find the currency baht? A, Cambodia, B, Laos, or C for Thailand?
Ryan.
Yes?
Thailand.
Correct. Question 5. What African country has the largest population? A, Nigeria, B, Kenya, or C for South Africa?
Kim. C for South Africa.
Wrong. Question 6. By size, what is the largest country in the world? A, China, B, India, or C for Russia?
Ryan.
Yes.
Russia.
Correct. Question 7. Which country in the European Union has the biggest population? A, France, B, Germany, C, Spain?
Ryan.
Yes.
France.
Wrong. Question 8. Where is the Gobi Desert located? A, Mongolia, B, China, C for India?
Kim. C. India.
Wrong. Question 9. The hottest ever temperature was recorded in which country? A, USA, B, Australia, or C for Brazil?
Kim. C. Brazil.
Wrong. Question 10. Which country has the most islands in the world? A, Philippines, B, Norway, C, Sweden.
Kim, A, Philippines.
Wrong.
I would have said that.
Me too.
Thank you, Ryan and Kim, for being very brave players on the TechCast quiz. I hope you answered enough questions correctly to be the winner. Okay, listeners, I'm now going to reveal the winner of this very important quiz. Drum roll, please. The winner with a total of 4 correct answers is Ryan.
Sweet.
Congratulations, Ryan, for winning the first TechCast quiz of Season 4. How does it feel to be the winner?
A lot of things running through my mind right now. I'm pretty overwhelmed. I got to thank Kim for being a participant with me. Thank everyone on the Tech Podcast here for setting this up. And I should also thank Brenda for teaching geography. So thank you, geography teachers, for getting me through this.
Thanks again to the players, and we hope you enjoyed the quiz.
Thanks, Carly, for getting this episode off to an awesome start. So, I'm very excited to host the next segment. I have the honor of interviewing Tech's very own chef, Willow. I actually had the privilege of working with Willow as a staff student for the past couple of years. Willow is an amazing chef who runs the Tech Bistro with JJ, a former podcast guest. The bistro has grown into recent years and has now developed into a professional business. Hi, Willow. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Thanks very much for joining me in the studio today.
Well, let me first tell your listeners how capable you are, Alessia, in the kitchen. I've watched you grow so much as a cook yourself over the last few years, and I'm just honored that you've invited me on the show today.
Thanks, Willow. So we're going to ask some questions and just give me your honest answers. So, how is the Tech Bistro going to be this year, considering the challenges and situations caused by the pandemic?
Well, I would have to say, as far as the pandemic is concerned, most of the challenges came last year when we were first dealing with it and adjusting. Some of the problems that we encountered was back in November, I contracted the virus myself. So I was off work for quite an extended amount of time. So there was a lot of scrambling for JJ in the kitchen to cover me. And then there was a lot of absences of our students because of lockdowns, because of quarantine, things like that. So that was a big challenge. Also getting used to working with visors and masks and disposable dishes and the whole Uber delivery cart because there was no more dining in the big room. Those were the kind of challenges that we faced, but I'm happy to say that we solved most of the problems in due time, and we learned a lot in the experience, and you're going to see some of the changes are going to end up being permanent.
Okay, I was like, you got the virus?
I did, but
God.
I survived.
All right. So tell me, Willow, why did you choose to become a chef and work in the food industries?
Well, it started, I left home quite young, as you guys might not know. I was 16 or 17 when I left home, and I initially started working in restaurants just as a way to pay the rent. It wasn't my goal to become a chef initially. I just wanted to support myself. So I got my first job in a golf course, actually, working in a snack bar.
Nice.
And it was just over years of doing it that I eventually fell in love with it. I loved the culture. I developed a passion for it, and then I began to take it seriously when I was a bit older, and here we are today.
Wow. Growing up, did you have any role models to inspire your interest of food and cooking?
Well, the first one that comes to mind is a really popular one that a lot of you probably know. Back when I was in my 20s working in downtown Toronto, a book came out that an older chef recommended to me, and it was a book called Kitchen Confidential. Have you guys heard of that book?
No.
The author is Anthony Bourdain, who was a very famous chef and writer, actually. He passed away, unfortunately, a couple of years ago. But he really helped open my eyes to the magic and beauty that lies behind some of the uglier parts of the industry. And he kind of glamorized it. And, he made me feel like I was part of a big club. And that was a great feeling. And it really helped me to develop actually a healthier outlook on the career.
Nice.
Yeah.
I understand you grew up in Ottawa. What was it like growing up in the nation's capital?
Well, in Ottawa, it's a bilingual city. It's one of the only cities that is bilingual. And I'd have to say that that was a benefit for me coming to Montreal later, because I have a base French knowledge, especially working in kitchens, where a lot of kitchens here in Montreal, it is only French. So that growing up in Ottawa helped me to adjust to learning a new language when I moved here later on. One of my most memorable things about growing up in Ottawa, one of my favorite things, was skating on the canal. I don't know if you guys know, but it's one of the world's longest skating rinks, and I have a lot of fond memories of the Ice Sculpture Festival down in Dow's Lake. It's not what it used to be now because our winters aren't as cold as they used to be, but I have a lot of great memories of skating as a kid on the canal.
Well, fun fact, I was in Ottawa this summer, and my hotel was right across the Rideau Canal.
Oh, really? So you know how beautiful it is
I
there.
know how beautiful it is, and it was really close to Parliament Hill, and it was so awesome. How did you end up living in Montreal?
Well, it was sort of happened by accident. When I had my first son, we were living in Toronto, and it was a big city. It's an expensive city to live in, and I thought I wanted to be a bit closer to my family. My family lives in Ottawa. I wasn't ready to move back to Ottawa. Ottawa was a bit small for me. Toronto was a bit big. So we picked Montreal because it's close to Ottawa, and there's a great restaurant scene here. So I knew there would always be work for me here.
Nice. You have worked in the food industry in Montreal for several years now. How does it feel? How does the food scene in Montreal compare to the rest of Canada?
Well, I'd have to say that Montreal is in a league with Vancouver and Toronto, although it has its own vibe. Montreal is really, for me, it excels at that down-to-earth vibe. You go to Toronto, you've got a lot of really ritzy, expensive dining rooms. You go to Vancouver, it's got a different vibe, more seafood-centric, and you're close to California. So you've got, you're going to notice the difference with what grows naturally in the regions and stuff like that. But overall, I would say Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver all have the similarity of being big cities with a big scene.
Nice.
But I'd say Montreal definitely has more of that down-to-earth feel, more casual.
I think the only restaurant I went to when I was in Toronto was like a Swiss Chalet.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, this is not what I thought I would come here for. Before joining tech, I understand you worked in various places as a pastry chef. What was it like working as a pastry chef?
Well, I've done both, savory and sweet kitchen. I'd have to say one of the first things that I noticed, the big change was you have to follow recipes all the time when you're in pastry. It's a little different when you're cooking because there's more room for error or more room for creativity, if you will. But definitely it's more strict about following recipes to the T, and you have a lot of a different schedule than the rest of the kitchen. Most of the time as a pastry chef, for myself, I was never really working in pastry shops. I was working in restaurants. So I had to fight for that space with the cooks. So I would have to come in early morning to have all the ovens and stoves at my disposal so that I could use them and get all my pastries done in time for service that day. So I'd say those are two of the biggest differences with working in the sweet kitchen.
Wow. And that's why I like working by myself because you get to create and there's room for error too.
Yeah.
Have you ever cooked for any celebrities in your career?
I sure have. I'll name a few. I don't know if maybe this audience is a bit young to know some of these people, but there's Bruce Willis.
Oh, Bruce Willis.
Prince. I cooked for Prince. Helena Bonham Carter. She's a pretty popular actress. Barbara Streisand. I actually made a birthday cookie for her dog.
What?
John Malkovich was another big one. He was exciting. And there were some royal figures in there too. I think we had like the Prince of Monaco at the hotel once. We had Pink, the singer. Yeah, lots of
wow,
famous people.
Did they like the food?
Yeah, they loved the food. The food was great at that hotel that I worked at.
What has been some of the most challenging moments for you working as a chef?
I'd have to say the most challenging moments for me were when my children were really young. And having to juggle the demands of raising babies, having babies at home, and a very demanding job at the same time. And when you work for a big fancy hotel that's open all year round, there isn't really time off at holidays. There isn't, you have to be available. And because I was the executive pastry chef, I had a lot of responsibility. So if I had to be there at 3 in the morning, I had to be there at 3 in the morning. Wow. If I had to stay until 1 a.m. at night, I had to. If I had to work, I had to sometimes work Christmas Day, New Year's Day, all of that. So that was probably the hardest part for me when my kids were a bit younger, because they needed me around a lot more. But now it's mellowed out. Well, now I'm working for the school, but also my kids are a bit older, so they're a bit more independent.
If you could cook with any chef in the world, who would it be and why?
Okay, so one of my favorite pastry chefs her name is Rosio Sanchez. She was the pastry chef at El Bulli, which was a famous #1 restaurant in the world for I think about 4 years in Denmark. Ooh. And her desserts are the reason why I love her desserts. She's of Mexican descent, but she was raised in Denmark, and her desserts are known for sort of crossing over between savory and sweet, which is something that I like to do a lot in my own dessert creations. I like to play with ingredients that aren't necessarily traditionally used in desserts, and my desserts tend to be a little less sugary and sweet than a lot of what's out there in the mainstream market. Now, when she left El Bulli, she ended up opening her own little restaurant in Denmark, and it's one of the first Mexican restaurants in Denmark.
Whoa!
And she's got a lot of female cooks working for her too, which I love. I like the idea of of having more strong females in the industry, because when I was up and coming in the industry, it was mostly a male-dominated industry. So it's changed a lot over the years. But she's a great chef.
That is amazing. Lastly, what are your plans and aspirations for the future?
Oh, well, I mean, specifically about cooking or just in life?
Just in life or cooking, whichever way.
So right now, as you guys may or may not know, I'm working on the student-run cafe over at Maimonides Care Home. So that's the big thing going on right now. So in my future plans are just getting this place up and running and having it run smooth so that our students and our graduates maybe can have a place to work later on in their careers. Nice. As far as personally, one of my hobbies is weightlifting. So I have a dream to one day maybe become competitive in weightlifting, maybe in the over 40 crowd. So that's one of my goals for the future. Yeah.
Wow. Thanks, Willow, for taking part of this interview today.
Well, thanks for having me, and congratulations on all of the success that this podcast has acclaimed so far. Everybody loves this podcast, including myself, so I'm really honored that you invited me to be here today.
We really appreciate you stepping out of the kitchen to speak on this award-winning podcast.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Well, this concludes our 4th episode of TechCast this season. We hope you enjoyed your podcast experience, and we are so excited that you could join us. We would like to thank our professional team of writers, producers, and sound engineers. We would like to also thank our sponsors. This episode was proudly brought to you by our gold partner, The Tech Bistro. Tune in to your next episode because we have some incredible segments planned for you. Until next time, turn up the heaters, keep warm, and take care out there.